Okay, here we go. Lesson 1.2. We're doing expressions and equations. We're starting here on page 36 of our Notable. And what are we going to learn today? We are going to learn about how you would represent verbal expressions in sentences as algebraic expressions and equations. Now remember, the difference between an expression and equation is that an equation has an equal sign, an expression doesn't. So let's build our vocabulary here. Here we have blank expressions contain numbers and may contain operations. On that blank, you're going to put numerical. Numerical expressions contain numbers and may contain operations. Now, what are operations? Operations are, there are four of them. There's our add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Now our next kind of expression that we're going to talk about is what we like to call algebraic expressions. Algebraic expressions, and they contain at least one variable and may contain operations. And remember, operations are just our add, subtract, multiply, divide. Now, what is a variable? That's the next thing we're going to define. A variable is a symbol or letter used to represent a number. So, a lot of times in math, we like to talk about x. X is a variable. Y is a variable. What else is a variable? Things like A, B, C. Those are all examples of variables. Now, before we move on, I want to direct your attention over here to page 37. In your margin, you have a Review It box. Now, we have our four operations listed under our Review It box, and what we want to do is list keywords that indicate each of the following operations. So we have addition. It's our first operation. Some words that we like to associate with addition are plus or sum, increased by, and more than. Remember, than is with the A, more than. For subtraction, some words that we like to associate with subtraction are minus, decreased by, less than. For multiplication, we like product, times, multiplied by. Remember, times, that could just be 3 times 7 is 21. And for division, some words that we associate with division are quotient and divided by. Now, the three words sum, product, and quotient are words that we associate with the answers to these types of problems. So sum is the answer to an addition problem. Multiplication, product is the answer to a multiplication product, or multiplication problem. Quotient is the answer to a division problem. So, now that we've done that, we want to keep all these words in mind while we're doing our lesson. Let's go back over to page 36. So, our first example here, remember we're back on page 36. The first example, it says, write an algebraic expression for each verbal expression. So here's your verbal expression. We want to write an algebraic expression. And remember, an algebraic expression contain at least one variable and may contain an operation. Also, we remember from the definition of expression that it does not have an equal sign. So, first thing is 5 more than x. Now, more than we associated with the word addition. So we know we're going to be using addition signs. 5 more than x. We're going to put our x first. We're going to put our 5 here. The answer to this expression would give us 5 more than x. Whatever x is, we don't know yet. 2. The quotient of k and 4. Now remember, quotient we have listed over on page 37 is the answer to an addition, or the answer to a division problem. So we know that we're going to be using division. quotient of k and 4. So we want to write a division problem. We know that. We want it to be between k and 4, or k divided by 4. Another way we could write this is like a fraction, k over 4. N times 7. N times 7. Now for times, we know we associate multiplication with times. So we know we're going to be using multiplication. We're going to write this as 7n. Now why didn't we write this as 7 times n or n times 7? They're all the same really, but in math you will always see your number and your variable connected with no sign in between them, and that just means you're multiplying them together. So we have 7 times n, or invisible multiplication sign there. Down here we have the difference of a and b. The difference of a and b, and remember difference is subtraction. So the difference between them is going to be a minus b. A minus b. Again, we have no equal sign because we are just writing expressions. Now we have the your turn section of our notables. And again, I'm going to ask you to pause me right now. Try these 4, A, B, C, and D by yourself, and then play to see if you get the right answers. Pause me now. Okay, so it says, write an algebraic expression for each verbal expression. So again, these are all verbal expressions. We want to write algebraic expressions for these, and algebraic expressions are the ones we have up here. So we have y increased by 8. Increased, we know, is addition. So our answer is y plus 8. 5 divided by w. We know divided by is division. Basically says it right there. So we have 5 divided by w, or, and I'd like you to write both of these, 5 over w. Next one, 8 multiplied by x. Again, when we're talking about multiplication in variables, we often see them written like this, 8x. And that's how your answer should be, 8x. D, 11 subtracted from a. Now for this one, you want to be careful. It's trying to get you. 11 subtracted from a is not going to be 11 minus a, because we're subtracting 11 from a. So we want to make sure we go a minus subtract 11. So that's 11 subtracted from a. Now we're over on page 37. Page 37. Since you can't see the bottom of my page, I'll go ahead and write it up there. And we are going to now do the flip-flop of this. Now we are going to write a verbal expression for each algebraic expression. So they give us x divided by 8. Now, just saying the problem right there is us turning this algebraic expression into a verbal expression. So we can simply write that. X divided by 8. What's another thing we could write for this? We could have written the quotient of x and 8. These are both valid answers. Now this one here, they throw a little bit of a curveball at you. They throw some grouping symbols. Grouping symbols are these parentheses right here. We know we have to do these first. So first things first, you're going to say, okay, what is going on inside these grouping symbols? You have the sum of y plus 2. What are you doing for that? You're then going to multiply it by 5. So, watch how I write this. You're going to write 5 multiplied by and now we want to take the sum of y plus 2 first, then multiply that by 5. So we're going to say multiplied by the sum of y and 2. 5 multiplied by the sum of y and 2. Now this tells us that we need to first add y and 2, y plus 2, then multiply it by that 5. So now on your turn again, I'm going to ask you to pause here and try these two by yourselves and play to check your answers. So we have 18 plus m. Now we could just write 18 plus m and be done with it. So let's get a little bit more creative. We have our whole list over here. We have plus, sum, increase by, more than. We can say, let's write the sum of 18 and m. Now down here, we could have also written 18 increased by m, or m more than 18. Anything like that is also valid. So here we have x minus 5, and then we're going to multiply that by that 13. So we're going to write something like x decreased by 5 multiplied by 13. Okay. What else could we have written? The product of 13 and x minus 5, or something along those lines would also work. So we're moving on. Build your vocabulary. Here we have blank are mathematical sentences that contain an equal sign. So we've been doing expressions all up here that don't contain equal signs. So you guessed it, equations. I wrote pretty big. Equations are mathematical sentences that contain an equal sign. So now, instead of just doing expressions, we're going to have some equations in here. So first example says write equations. Write an equation for each sentence. 11 minus g equals 4. 11 minus g equals 4. So 11 minus g, we already know, is 11 minus, and our variable is g, equals 4. So now remember, this equal sign, let's put a list over here. This equal sign could, some of the words could be equals, some of the words could be is, some of the words could be is equal to, or the same as. And it just means that whatever's on this side of the equal sign is the same as whatever's on this side of the equal sign. So 11 minus g is 4. These both are equal numbers, or equal values, I should say. So now let's try the quotient of x and 5 is 6. So remember, quotient, we see over here, is division. So we want the quotient of x and 5. So x divided by 5 is equals 6. Equals 6. So now you write equations for each of these sentences. Pause me and come back. Okay, so let's see if you got these answers correct. The sum of b and 9 is equal to 17. You should have written there b plus 9 equals 17. You got that? Right on. B, 25 decreased by n is the same as 17. Remember, the same as is one of the words we have listed as equals. So 25 minus n equals 17. You got that? Good job. Let's go ahead and turn our page. Okay, we are now over on page 38. And in true notable fashion, they want us to now write the sentences for each algebraic equation. So they put 5n over here equals 28. And just saying that to yourself is already writing the sentence in your mind. So 5n we know is 5 times n. So we can put 5 times n. We want to put equals 28. Equals 28. That's easy enough. Down here, they give us 3 plus x divided by 2 equals 27. So we want to put 3 plus, that's pretty straightforward. Now, x divided by 2, remember we have to do that first. So x divided by 2, we know division has a bunch of vocabulary. We can do the quotient of x and 2. So 3 plus, we want to put the quotient of x and 2, and we can just put is 27. Let me scoot that over for you. Is, remember is one of our words associated with equal, is 27. Let me just that up. So 3 plus the quotient of x and 2 is 27. Go ahead and pause it. Okay, so your turn. Here we go. If you need to pause and try these on your own, that would be great. So your turn. M divided by 3 equals 5. M divided by 3 equals 5. Right when you just say that sentence, you can already just write it down. M divided by 3 equals 5. Pretty straightforward. Our next one is 7 plus h is equal to 11. Or we could say the sum of 7 and h is the same as 11. So, just saying this sentence out loud to yourself will already help you in writing the verbal sentences for math. Okay, so now we're down here at example 11, shopping. Josie bought 4 notebooks that cost $2 each and 3 paperback books for $7 each. Write an expression, remember expression has no equal sign, for the total amount Josie spent. So we're not asking us to find how much she spent, we're just writing an expression if we wanted to figure out how much she spent. So, she got 4 notebooks, cost of those notebooks are $2 each, and she got 3 paperback books, cost of those paperback books are $7 each, and we're done. Right there, we have 4 times 2 plus 3 times 7. We could say the product of 4 and 2 increased by the product of 3 and 7, and we're done. So down here, your turn. Why don't you try and pause me and come back, see if you get it right. So it says Mrs. Chin bought 3 gallons of milk that cost $3 each and 3 packages of cookies that cost $4 each. Write an expression for the total amount Mrs. Chin spent. It's weird, my sister's last name is Chin, so this is like I'm talking about my sister. So anyways, 2 gallons of milk cost $3 each. So 2 and 3. And we have 3 packages of cookies at $4 each. So these are our important numbers right here. So we want to write an expression, remember, that has no equal sign. So here we have 2 gallons of milk at $3 each, plus 3 packages of cookies at $4 each, and that will give us exactly what Mrs. Chin spent at the grocery store. So make sure your notable is filled out just how I have it here, and